Welcome to today's episode of Decentralize TV. I'm Mike Adams, the founder of Brighteon.com. And as always, joined by my co-host today, Todd Pittner, who will come in just a second. And as you know, here on Decentralize TV, we focus on bringing you solutions for decentralized living, which means that you are in custody of your assets and you're not subject to the centralized controls or limitations or tyrannical, authoritarian banking system or what have you. And so we have a very special guest today, someone who you probably have read his books. It's the author of the Rich Dad, Poor Dad series, Mr. Robert Kiyosaki. And I'm a great fan of his. He's a modern day legend in the world of finance and helpful advice. And just want to welcome both of you to the show, Robert Kiyosaki and Todd Pittner, my co-host. Welcome to the show today.
Thank you.
Hola.
Hi, great to have you both with me. And may I call you Robert for the rest of the show? Is that okay? Okay. Your information has helped many tens of millions of people around the world handle their assets in a way that makes sense. And yet, Todd and I both watch your videos and your interviews and your warnings and about BRICS and de-dollarization and what's happening with the fiat currency. You are very concerned about where things are headed right now. Could you give us an overview of where you think we stand at the moment?
Yeah. Well, as most people know, is in 71, President Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. And that meant the money became fake money or fiat currency. And fiat means by government decree. And so far throughout history, no fiat currency has ever survived. In fact, fiat currency has brought down the Chinese Empire, the Roman Empire, and the Greek Empire. So in 1971, at the time I was flying in Vietnam, I flew one of these in Vietnam, a helicopter gunship.
Wow.
And my rich dad sent me a letter by snail mail saying, watch out, Nixon just took the dollar off the gold standard. He said, the world's going to change. I had no idea what he was talking about. But we've all seen it since then, is that anytime the government gets in trouble, they just print more money.
That's right.
And so just recently, not trying to blame Biden, but he's not my favorite person. Trump and I are really good friends. We wrote 2 books together. It's one of our books together here.
Yeah.
And we're capitalists, and Biden's a communist. So
no argument with that here. No, that's for sure.
So and anyway, is that just recently they took they raised the debt ceiling again, and I was just on Fox with Charles Payne. So Charles Payne wanted to know what that meant, and the reason he was concerned is because our credit rating in the United States via Fitch Rating Services downgraded the U.S. debt from AAA to AA+. And the average American has no idea what that means.
That's right.
Because we have no financial education in our schools.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my concern, and that's why I write and I speak. And then in the 2 months since, Biden or Yellen, the Secretary of Treasury, took the dollar off, downgrade, took the ceiling cap off of our debt, is our debt increased by $1.8 trillion
Amazing.
In 2 months. And the last time, it took us 209 months after Nixon to get to 1.8 trillion in debt. And now it's being done every 2 months.
Yeah.
That's not sustainable.
No, it's a hyperbolic blowout.
Yeah, we're in a collision course for disaster, or we become the Weimar Republic that brought Hitler to power, or the Chinese government when they started printing they printed the first paper money, Chinese did, and the Greeks and the Romans. So we're in a collision course for disaster.
Yeah,
that's still number 1 in the world.
Absolutely. And I want to give out your website too, and I'll bring you in, Todd, but richdad.com is the website, folks. If you want to learn about Robert Kiyosaki's information and books, if you're not already familiar with them, and here's a Financial Freedom Summit and some other information, you can check it out at richdad.com. Of course, we've got quite a few questions for you, Mr. Kiyosaki, but Todd, you want to chime in here? Because I know you're a fan of Robert's work as well.
Yes, I am, Robert. I remember lots of hours driving where I listen to your audiobooks all the time. So it's a pleasure to meet you in person. And, a lot of people, though, they take a look at the stock market right now and they're like, it's strong. There's nothing to worry about, nothing to see here. So my question to you, sir, is what is the consequence of Washington just ripping the ceiling off the debt, sir?
Well, like I said, it allowed the U.S. government, every time we got into financial trouble, we just print more money. And if you and I did that, we go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
A guy named Bernie Madoff did that, and a bunch of characters have tried to do it.
Yeah.
But there comes a time when you can't print any further, and we're pretty near that point right now. So again,
how does that impact then inflation? Just normal people who may not be really attuned or interested in finance. I mean, we're feeling it at the grocery store, aren't we?
Right. And again, like Trump is my friend and Biden's a Marxist, but it's not that what they say or do, it's what do they do. So the first act that Joe Biden did, you guys are from Texas or near Austin, first thing that Joe Biden did was he canceled the Keystone XL pipeline, which is a pipeline running from Canada to the Gulf of Mexico.
That's right.
And the moment he did that, I sell oil out of Texas and Louisiana and North Dakota. I don't buy oil stocks. I don't have Chevron or BP and all that stuff. I own the real oil. And when Trump was president, I was selling oil for $30 a barrel. The moment Biden cut that Keystone XL pipeline, that was in 2020, just before the riots in January 6th or something like that. Mm-hmm. The price of oil went from $30 a barrel to $130 a barrel. And immediately I knew what Biden was doing. His plans are to crush the poor and middle class so that we're on the verge of revolution. And so when I sit in my car and I see a mother with kids and, her SUV and she's pumping gas and she's watching the gas thing go around, then she's got to feed her kids. And that's what Biden did. So it's not what he says. What does he do?
Yeah, exactly. The middle class is being completely wiped out. And even right now, people who have assets, which I think our audience tends to be pretty well off, they're very successful. A lot of them have owned their own businesses or have worked for 30 or 40 years and saved some money. And now they're very, very concerned about, first of all, the collapsing value of the dollar itself. The purchasing power is eroding much faster than the official government rates would admit. But also the failure of the banking system. And we saw Janet Yellen testify, after the early failures this year, where she said, yeah, we'll selectively bail out certain banks beyond the 250K, but we're not going to tell you in advance which ones those are. So now everybody feels like they're playing bank roulette, with their deposits. And my question to you, and I want to have a conversation a little bit about self-custody, but how foolish is it for people right now to trust that they're going to be bailed out as more bank failures cascade across the system?
Well, I think it's going to get worse, and that's the problem. I wrote a book. I don't know if I have it here. Here it is. This is the next shoe to drop here. It's called "Who Stole My Pension?" And I wrote it with Edward Siddell and myself. And it's only now making the news is that Wall Street, the bunch of criminals they are, they've robbed our pensions of the assets. So pretty soon you're going to hear of school teachers, firefighters, police officers, like CalPERS is the California Employee Pension Plan. It's broke.
Yes.
It's empty. So we haven't heard that news yet. And so my question is, when my generation, I'm 25 years older than you guys, when my generation finds out they have no money, that probably means they're going to print more money. Like Ben Bernanke, Helicopter Ben said,
right.
We have a thing called the printing press. And when they print more money, inflation goes up again. Yeah. So why would you save money? Why would you invest in stocks, bonds, or mutual funds? Personally, I don't trust anything you can print. I want hard assets.
That's great.
We completely agree. And in fact, that's a great segue to the self-custody question. So here on this show, which is about decentralization, we believe, it's not a belief, we recognize the facts of gold, silver, and crypto. And crypto is an honest ledger, right? No one can artificially inflate the supply of Bitcoin. Gold and silver inherit intrinsic value that outlasts the fall of civilization throughout history. And also, you can't just create gold out of thin air. It takes a lot of effort and energy to get it. So I found that you are saying very similar advice to your audience about gold and silver and crypto. And yet I see sometimes gold people saying, we don't want crypto. And sometimes crypto people saying, we don't like gold. But you and us all agree that these asset classes have value. Why is that? Why have we all come to the same conclusion?
That's why I asked you, but you guys are off. You guys are off the grid. You know, crypto, I mean, Bitcoin especially is off the grid. And that's why I liked it, but it's blockchain technology, which has integrity, while the Fed, the Treasury, and Biden have no integrity. Wall Street has no integrity. Mm-hmm. So I want something you cannot print. And that's why I like gold, silver, Bitcoin. Simple.
And you recently had a prediction on Bitcoin, I believe, of, like a price target for sometime next year. Are you still, is that number still something that makes sense to you, or is that?
I think I was repeating somebody's quote.
Oh, okay, okay.
I don't like making predictions on price.
Yeah, right.
Good. Like
we don't either.
I say to my friends, it's not, what's the price of a quarter? Well, I don't care what the price of a quarter is. How many quarters do you have?
Yeah.
And so, see, I'm so hardcore. This here is my gold mine. It's in Utah, and its call sign is ODV on the New York Stock Exchange. And as we're working right now, the reason we found this gold mine was because due to digitalization, my partners in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, were looking at the records of the old miners back in the 1850s. And when they digitalized guys with the pick and shovels and the burros, when they digitalized the records of the miners, they said, oh my God, they missed the main vein.
Oh, wow.
So again, due to technology, we went down, found this thing. That green stuff is gold.
Wow.
That's gold.
Well, so you did mining of the records of the mining and, and then found a pattern of where there's more gold.
Yeah, so that's how technology is advancing our ability to see and do and get richer. Unfortunately, as you know, our schools teach us nothing about money.
That's right.
And that's the biggest problem of all.
Absolutely. Todd, you want to chime in with your next question?
Yeah, political question. I know we try to stay away from that, but you referenced Biden a couple of times. Do you have any insight, Robert, into who is truly Biden's puppet master? It must be someone or some group who absolutely hates America, right?
I tell you, you're asking the question of all questions. I just can't believe anybody would vote for him. Again, let me just say this much. I went to military school. I had congressional appointments in Naval Academy and Merchant Marine Academy. I took Merchant Marine Academy. And the motto at the Merchant Marine Academy in New York was acta non verba, deeds not words. And so as military officers, we're trained not to listen to the words, but watch what they do. So when the first act Biden did was cut off the Keystone XL pipeline, that's got to be those psychotic greenies, ESV, what's that?
Yeah.
Environmental.
ESG score, yeah.
Yeah, so it's those psychotic greenies. I'm a greenie too. I don't want this planet destroyed, but these guys take it too far.
Yeah.
And right now they're making it so hard. I drill for oil. I don't have oil stocks. Mm-hmm. They're making it so hard to drill for oil. The price of oil keeps going up, which makes the poor middle class poor. Now I get richer, but that's not good because that leads to revolution. That's my concern.
Well, and this is a deliberate takedown of the energy infrastructure that drives economies and also feeds populations. So along with this, We're seeing a lot of shutdown of farms across Europe, for example. In the Netherlands, seizing over 3,000 farms. The price of meat skyrocketing across Europe. And a lot of that's tied to the climate agenda as well, saying that meat is bad. In Australia, they're talking about now permanently banning the installation of gas stoves in new home construction. So, and that's already the law in New York State, as you are probably well aware. So, what kind of future do they want for us, where we're sitting in a mud hut with no electricity, no air conditioning, no hot water, and then we're supposed to say that we've finally reached equilibrium with the planet? Is that, and we're starving too on top of that? Is that the future they want for us?
I think so. I think they're, that guy who, Michael Schellenberger, who wrote San Francisco.
Yeah.
He called these environmentalists apocalyptic greenies.
That's
All
a good
they
term.
do is they scare everybody. That was like, what's his name? Who was Clinton's vice president?
Al Gore.
Al Gore. They show the ice caps melting. They show the trees being deforested. And they say, we're going to all die. That's apocalyptic, greenies.
Yeah.
And so, and then on the other side, they have the Black Lives Matter guys who are the equality psychos. They're trying to push equality. That's why they're, diversity, inclusion, equality spells die. Of course, they don't put it that way. They put diversion, equality, inclusion. But we're dying. I mean, these school teachers. I taught at Arizona State last year, and 39 professors shut me down.
No kidding.
Yeah, I mean, they're most school teachers, like my poor dad, are Marxists. They just don't know it. The problem is they never read this book here.
Ah, there you go. Yeah. See this.
So in 1965, when I left Hawaii to go to school in New York at the academy, my economics teacher had me read this book here. And I said, why are you reading this book? And my economics teacher, who was a West Point graduate, said, know thy enemy.
Yeah.
And that enemy are our school teachers.
That's funny. When I was in college, I had an economics professor named Ishizawa. And he did much the same thing, and he had us build an economic simulation on the early PCs, the early IBM PC. He wrote an economic simulator to demonstrate what he was talking about. But today, people lack basic financial literacy. So, for example, and I know you've talked about this on your show, I've heard you talk about it, but the average American, and it's not just Americans, it's Europeans, it's Canadians, and so on, they don't understand compounding interest, number one, or compounding anything. That
compounding inflation.
Exactly.
Right.
So they don't know that if you're losing, let's say 1% a month in purchasing power of your dollar, where that's going to be, rule of 72 and all that, where that's going to be. It doesn't take long to lose half the power in the dollar. And I've seen people who live in a house for 40 years sell the house and think they made a fortune on it, but the money is worth a fraction of what they originally paid for the house in the first place. They didn't gain anything.
Well, the reason is our schools don't have students read this book here. You see, the other thing that they don't tell you is it's called indoctrination. It's not education. And so when I talk to people, I was just at the gym and I was trying to tell my gym instructor, he's only about 20 years old. I said, buy silver. No, he'd rather save this stuff. That's how stupid he is. I said,
and
they're
I think you have
this, and this will hold its value. No, I'm going to save dollars. He sounds like my whole family.
You should tell him you're going to pay him in silver. Yeah.
And don't you say, Robert, that saving dollars is a sport for losers? I think I've heard you say that.
Well, this is toilet paper. Just think of it as toilet paper.
Yeah.
Someday it'll be worth less than toilet paper. And the toilet paper gives you more space. But anyway.
And from what you've said, too, about where you invest your funds, because you've earned off of your books, you've worked hard, you've earned assets, and you put them into oil exploration, you put them into gold mining. You are putting money in places where it produces value for society. And it's not just speculation on derivatives or financial instruments or abstractions. It's It's something that's real, and even I would even count Bitcoin in that category. It's real because it's driven by algorithms and built-in algorithmic scarcity that no one can fudge or fake or counterfeit. So I just want to say, thank you for setting an example for the American people.
Thank you.
More people need to put money in things that matter so that we have a future.
Well, let me step back one more time, because number one, I don't save money. I save this, silver, and this is gold. I save gold. I don't save this, but I also use debt to invest. And guys like Dave Ramsey also live debt-free. I'm $1.2 billion in debt because, as I said earlier, in 1971, Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard and the dollar became debt. Yet people are so indoctrinated into working for this and saving this and investing this for more paper. That makes no sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But explain more about leveraging debt to gain real assets, because you're a master of that. You've done that your whole career.
Right. Well, I always recommend you study, because when any frickin' idiot can buy an Apple share. You just call your stockbroker up and you say, let's say it's $100. I'll give you $100 to get a share of Apple. Now, if you make a mistake, you can liquefy it that fast. But you buy a piece of real estate for $100,000, you make a mistake, you're not going to write that baby down. So my friend Ken McElroy wrote 3 books on this, my partner. He calls it the ABCs of real estate, the ABCs of property management, because it's a management issue. And number 3 is the advanced guide to real estate. And what happens for me is, let's say I buy a property for $1 million. I put up, let's say 20%, $200,000. I have $800,000 in debt. I increased the income on the property, the NOI, net operating income, and then the two. Let's say I can't remember anymore, but let's say I have $1 million into the property. I borrow out the $2 million, so the property now is 100% debt, and the company is still throwing cash flow. That's what my game teaches, is cash flow. So that when you have cash flow from nothing, the return is infinite. You made money out of nothing.
Yeah,
and that's what financial education is.
Can you walk us through, since you do have that cash flow board behind you, and this is based on the principles that you teach, can you kind of walk us through what that's about, the diagram there?
Sure. When I was 9 years old, my rich dad started teaching. My deal with my rich dad, who's my best friend's father in Hawaii, I had to work for him for free, and he would teach me how to be an entrepreneur and an investor. So after I worked for free, picking up rubbish and paper or painting things and doing all this, he had hotels and he owned restaurants. He would teach me about investing, playing Monopoly. So that's what I did. I just played Monopoly. And today I play Monopoly in real life. And we all know the formula: 4 green houses, 1031 tax-free exchange into a red hotel. So the board game here is the middle. That's called the rat race. And the rat race is where you go to school for. So you learn to just work hard and spin and save money, invest in the stock market. But to get onto the fast track, and in the real world of finance, there is a fast track. Those people are called accredited investors. And I forget the thing now, you have to have $1 million in assets and earn like $300,000 a year or something. But the average person, the mom and pop, PhDs, go to college, can't get out of the rat race. So they never make it to the fast track. It's where the investments are, which is where the real deals are made. So I showed you my gold mine and all that. Those are fast track deals. So I don't buy shares of stock. I buy the gold mine. And that's what capitalists do.
Yes.
Marxists don't know how to do that. That's why college professors, for the most part, they work for tenure. And you're in Austin, Texas, where the University of Texas is.
There's a Marxist institution right there, UT.
And they all work tenure. Tenure means you can't get fired.
Yeah.
So they work for security. This is the difference. Marxists work for security. Capitalists work for freedom.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well said. So in terms of then people needing to save their assets from the collapsing dollar. What can you tell us? I know you've had like our mutual friend Andy Schectman on many times, and he's fantastic, well-informed about BRICS and so on. What are your views on the global de-dollarization? The BRICS nations, coming up here later this month are supposed to make some kind of announcement about perhaps a blockchain-backed, transactional currency among themselves. What do you think this means for the dollar or the de-dollarization acceleration?
Well, I think in Johannesburg, South Africa, on August 22nd this year, the BRICS nations are getting together. I think originally there was 5 BRIC nations: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. And then what happened is Saudi Arabia joined them. So it became BRICS. When Saudi Arabia joined them, that was the death of the dollar.
Yep.
Okay. And then now I think there's 41 countries, according to Andy Schectman, who's a genius. 41 countries are now going to join the BRICS. And that means the US dollar is finished because the world doesn't have to use the dollars. Let me explain one more thing, is that in 1944, this became the reserve currency of the world. And what that meant was it was as good as gold here. And the US then, because we had won World War II, all central banks had to store this. So they had to store this in their vaults. So Andy thinks there's probably $2 quadrillion sitting in these vaults of like the Bank of Japan, Bank of Mexico, Bank of England, and all this. So and then Jim Rickards says it's not if, it's when. When the crypto yuan, gold-backed yuan comes in, or whatever, they call it the BRICS coin, comes in, trillions, maybe quadrillions of dollars will come floating back to the United States because it's no longer money. And so what Andy Schectman is saying is that that's going to cause hyperinflation. And most of us have heard the story of during the Weimar Republic back before 1930, before Hitler came to power. There's a story of a woman who had a wheelbarrow full of Reichsmark in Germany, and she went up to the store to buy a loaf of bread. And she went out and got the bread, and when she came out, they stole her wheelbarrow, left the cash on the ground.
Right.
So that is possible. I hope I'm wrong. But Andy and I think that's a possibility, and so does Jim Rickards, who's a very smart guy.
Yeah. No one can ever accuse Jim Rickards of being a low IQ individual. He was, by the way, one of the people who negotiated the bailout, the first too big to fail bailout of long-term capital management, I believe, in 1998. Right. And I think the CIA has even used James Rickards for his analysis of, like money algorithms used by terrorism and so on. But Todd, we've been talking a lot. I know you got another question or comment. You want to chime in?
Well, was it the silly, crazy, nutty, stupid green agenda that pushed Saudi Arabia away from the U.S., Robert?
That was one of them. But also, when Biden pulled us out of Afghanistan, that was another straw. And also what happened when that happened, the BIS, the Bank of International Settlements, made gold a tier 1 asset.
That's right.
So up until that time, the dollar was a petrodollar. So in 1974, Nixon threw the dollar off the gold standard, and then 74 it was backed by oil, the petrodollar. So when Biden pulled us out of Afghanistan, the dollar became worthless. It wasn't worth oil anymore. So Saudi Arabia says, so why are we back in the U.S.? Another thing I'm going to say that gets me in a lot of trouble, and I'm not racist or xenophobic, whatever it is. If you notice that most of the countries that are hanging together are Christian, I was raised Christian. So you have Saudi Arabia, Canada, not Saudi Arabia, but Canada, America, England, Australia, New Zealand. But Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, they're Muslim. Korea and all that, they're Buddhists. So not only is it race, religion, and money, it's is we're different religions. And I think this is going to be the biggest change in world history. And that's August 22nd this year, in a few weeks.
And I think that the future for the American people is one that's going to surprise them, because they will find themselves living in deep impoverishment virtually overnight. Even if they have dollars in the bank, or they think they have a pension, or they think they have Social Security, yeah, you may still get the check, but it's not going to be able to buy much of anything. But couldn't that happen, pretty rapidly?
Just like I said, when I wrote this book here, if you have friends or family who are expecting a pension, there's firefighters, school teachers, police officers, I'd have them buy this book, Who Stole My Pension? Because it was Wall Street, the criminals on Wall Street, that loaded those pensions up with junk, trash.
That's right.
And that's what my friend Ed Siddell, my co-author here, he's the biggest whistleblower in America. He's making fortunes blowing the whistle on Wall Street.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So look, to the audience here, let me just say, Robert Kiyosaki's information can help you make decisions to save your assets. And that's no exaggeration. First of all, go to his website, richdad.com. And you can also find his broadcasts, on YouTube and other platforms as well. And he's got great guests like Andy Schectman and others. And he brings you good information. And and we come to a lot of the same conclusions too about assets and taking self-custody over assets. And in fact, one of my last questions for you, Robert, is, how in Bitcoin, if you take custody in your own wallet, it's your money. It's no one else you don't have to get permission from someone else to move it or to use it. Same thing with gold and silver in your hand, right? That's your money, it's yours. Whereas a lot of people think, if I just keep my money in these brokerage accounts or banks or treasuries, well, then someone's going to bail me out. But you always need permission from those authorities to access your money, don't you? And that permission can be taken away.
Correct. I mean, this here is my money. This here is bank's money. Mm-hmm. I'd rather have this here. There's one more thing. I tell people constantly, I would start moving your money out of banks, because the rumor is there's going to be a bail-in. Right. And a bail-in, which is another level of insanity. I hope it doesn't come. But they did this, the last in 2008, they did it to the Bank of Cyprus. Mm-hmm. So let's say you have that's happened when Silvergate Bank, was on Signature Bank and these banks.
Silicon Valley Bank, SVB.
Silicon Valley Bank. Is what happens, the shareholders, if you have $1 million in the bank, you just bail in. You just bought $1 million of Silicon Valley Bank shares.
Right.
So, I mean, we haven't seen insanity yet. I hope I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. But I would keep money out of the bank. I wouldn't tell anybody where you keep it. I'd buy a safe someplace and all this. My friend and I were on the stage, and he said, we're in Nevada, and he says, I keep all my gold and silver at home. I said, well, you just invited everybody to come visit you. So I'd get a nice safe. Andy Schectman has gold storage and safe places. I store my gold and silver in Switzerland. So I don't trust my government. It's that simple. I went twice to Vietnam. Like I said, I flew this thing over there. I know what communism is. I don't want anything to do with it. I've killed a lot of communists. And I should have come home, because, as soon as I got home from Vietnam in 1973, the school teachers started spitting on me. The hippies started spitting on me. Yeah, I'm a U.S. Marine. I just come back.
Unbelievable.
I brought 16 of my men home. And these hippies, these loving characters, spit on me, hit me with eggs. Can you imagine that?
Unbelievable.
Wow.
Well, we honor your service, of course. We thank you for your service. But honestly, I think your service to America since past your military service has been even far more impactful, right? Reaching a much larger number of people and helping people in so many ways. And as we're about to wrap this up, let me ask Todd, final comments, and then back to Robert for any sort of closing statements, what you want to leave our audience with. But Todd, go ahead.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind a little bit of mind share. I assert that CBDCs, Robert, are simply legacy banking services disguised as crypto, but much more nefarious due to their programmability. So my question is, what are the Fed and the banking cabal planning next? What's their end game in enforcing CBDCs on us, sir?
I think it's Marxism. I think it's this.
Okay.
You see, a central bank is Marx. And when in 1913, when the Fed was formed, we was the first of becoming Marxist. As this book here says, this was 1848, and they predicted that communism would take over America in 2 stages. The first stage was in 1930, when Columbia University, those communists over there in New York, went to Frankfurt, Germany, to bring in communist teachers to teach at Columbia University's Teachers College. So that was in 1930. And by the 60s, when I was in school in New York, riots were breaking out all over these campuses. You guys are too young to remember, but there was a thing called Kent State, 4 dead in Ohio.
Right.
There was rioting at Berkeley. So those school teachers spread communism. That's why there's no financial education in our schools.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well said. And as we're about to wrap this up, Robert, I mean, this is, we've already covered an amazing number of topics with you here today, but is there anything else you want to share with our audience about resources or things that they should be looking at or paying attention to?
Well, the reason I created the cash flow game, again, is because, as Maria Montessori said, what the hand does, the mind remembers. And so my final words are this here, the space between this year and this year lies your brain. And your brain is either your greatest asset or your greatest liability. So if you're saving money, clinging to job security, you put your money in the stock market, the 60-40, 60% equities, 10% bonds, this is now a liability to you.
Right.
You use the game to transform this into an asset for you and become an entrepreneur and buy gold and silver, not paper.
Yeah, well said. If everybody in America followed your advice, we would actually make it through whatever financial disaster is being engineered and thrust upon us. So it's great. Yes?
Well, that's a good point, you see, because I think by 2030, which is not that far away, there's going to be more opportunity than ever before if you're not wiped out.
That's right.
So,
right.
I mean, I live in a very affluent neighborhood, and the shopping center next to my home is empty. All these high-end shops are empty. And that's how bad this financial crisis is spreading. It's now hitting the rich and the affluent.
Right.
And then one more fact was that, because I'm a real estate guy, this one guy says there's the equivalent to 35 Empire State Buildings empty.
Wow.
Because of Zoom, because of COVID, they're empty. And that means all these REITs, real estate investment trust, and pensions are going to accelerate in the crash. So if it's going to crash, I'd get rid of toilet paper and, exactly as you guys said, get off the grid and go back to real money.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is real money.
Yeah, we've already seen some of the REITs, the REITs limiting withdrawals because they just don't have the liquidity. Who's buying commercial real estate right now? And even when it's selling at a 60% discount in some cities.
Right.
So, all right, well, we want to be mindful of your time, Mr. Kiyosaki, and just both Todd and I thank you and we honor you.
Thank you.
For your service to this country and to the people of America and the world and helping them sort out their financial future. So thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. As all Marines say, Semper Fi.
Semper Fi.
Semper Fi. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Bye.
Join the official discussion channel for this show on Telegram at t.me/decentralize TV, where you can ask questions or offer suggestions of who we should interview next. Also be sure to subscribe to the email newsletter on decentralize.tv, where you'll be alerted about 1 day in advance of each new upcoming episode, before it gets published. On decentralize.tv, you'll also find links to our video channels and social media channels across all platforms, including Brighteon, Rumble, BitChute, Twitter, Truth Social, and more. Check it all out at decentralize.tv. All right, folks, Robert Kiyosaki, again, richdad.com is the website. You know his books. You probably read them or listened to them as audiobooks. And I just want to say that is an extraordinary man. And
really?
Right? Isn't he impressive, Todd?
Yeah.
I mean, he holds to his convictions. He's uncensored. He's not afraid to tell the truth the way it is.
Yeah.
And
right.
his advice is going to help a lot of people survive what's coming. But those who fail to listen to Kiyosaki are going to find themselves in a world of hurt, I believe.
Yes.
What's your take?
Yes. My take, he just sold me, not that I needed to be sold, but Mike, I'm installing the food forest, and it's not cheap doing it the way that I'm doing it. But my wife and I, we always have been kind of preppers, and we save cash for a rainy day, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm not going to pay these guys out of my bank account.
Right.
I'm going to go get that green cash, and I'm literally going to pay them in cash. Get it out of my custody.
That's right.
And put it into food. So I'm going to once again put my money where my mouth is. But just as he was explaining it, I kept thinking when he was holding up gold and silver, in my mind, I'm holding up an orange and a peach and an avocado, from the food forest.
Well, food is real value. And, thanks to Mother Nature, the plants keep creating more food. So that's sort of
She's
infinite abundance over time. But in terms of storing value right now, especially, let's talk about portability as well. So silver, it's a great store of value, very difficult for governments to ban because it has so many industrial uses. Mm-hmm. But if you have any serious amount of money, let's say $100,000, have you ever tried to move around $100,000 worth of silver? It's heavy.
A lot of silver.
It's a lot of silver, and that's not even that much money these days. Whereas, so gold is a lot more compact. So in roughly 51-ounce gold coins, you can carry $100,000 worth of gold. You could put that, in a small satchel or a purse or a backpack or whatever. But then privacy crypto, which of course we are big fans of, Todd.
Right.
Privacy crypto, you can carry unlimited amounts of wealth at zero weight.
Zero weight
with
and just with words memorized in your head.
That's right. So everything has, its function and its place. And that's why I love the fact that Kiyosaki says gold, silver, and Bitcoin. And you and I are very close to that. We just say gold, silver, and crypto, kind of implying privacy crypto.
Right. That's right.
But we're also fans of Bitcoin as well. We love the fact that Bitcoin is making inroads and succeeding.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's converting people like Robert.
Yeah, exactly. And Robert gets it. And remember what he just said, that he will only save money in things that governments can't counterfeit. It's beautiful.
They can't print.
They can't print.
They can't print. Yeah.
That's exactly.
That was just such a great one-liner, That's right. That's very memorable. Just like when I was driving around all those years ago listening to his books, I remember him saying that saving dollars is a sport for losers.
Yeah, well, he's exactly right. Even what's interesting is even if you had bought gold and silver when his first books came out, right? And I don't know what year that was, but let's just even go to
25 years ago.
Okay, so the 1990s, right? So if you bought gold and silver in the 1990s, you might have paid, let's say, $350 an ounce for gold back then.
Okay.
So today that's worth like 5 times more. You've made 500% on gold just by holding it, while the currency has, of course, dropped. But now, then technically, if you translate the gold into $2,000 today, does that $2,000 purchase the same as what $350 purchased in the 1990s? But even if it's the same, then gold held value while your dollars lost value.
Yeah.
If you sat on cash.
We shouldn't say lost value. We should, I think we should position it as lost purchasing power.
Exactly. Because lost purchasing power.
That's where that's where you were given the example of the people who bought the house 40 years ago and they're rich when they sold it. And it's like, no, but look at your purchasing power. Now go try to find another house.
Right.
You know, half the size, you're downsizing, and guess what? You lost.
And then, you know, getting to Bitcoin, and again, you know, we don't give financial advice, and I don't talk price typically. And I'm not, frankly, a Bitcoin maxi, and Bitcoin's not my favorite coin, right? But yep. I cannot possibly imagine how Bitcoin could not substantially rise in value from here over the next decade based on what we now know about the failure of the banking system.
Exactly. I mean, if you want to become a billionaire, you know, just take $100,000 and I'm destroying this and wait. I mean, or put 100,000 into Bitcoin. That's what I wanted to say. And you know, it'll get to $1 billion at that portfolio just because of inflation. You think? Weimar.
You think one? Because right now one Bitcoin is what, 30 grand?
No, I'm being facetious. I'm just saying that when the money printer goes,
yeah,
and they're what is it? Did he say in the last 2 months they printed
1.8 trillion?
1.8 trillion. My gosh, that's unsustainable, Mike.
Well,
and
you know, Todd, just giving myself a little credit for something I said, I think 2 years ago on the podcast. I said we're soon going to be at the point where we're printing $1 trillion a month. Wow. And then we will get to a point where it's $1 trillion a week.
Yeah.
And maybe it'll be $1 trillion a day, but at some point, you know, the whole thing just blows up. But we are, based on what Kiyosaki just said, we are almost at a trillion, a month right now.
Right now.
How crazy is that?
I mean, I don't have a math brain big enough to figure it out, but you know, it doesn't take anybody with a little bit of critical thinking too long to recognize that steak is going to be $100 per really soon.
That's like next year it's going to,
yeah.
I mean, that's almost here. But I agree, food's going to be crazy. But here's the other thing about Robert Kiyosaki that I think is worth mentioning. You know, he's a generation older than you and I.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would have, let's say, just retired or I don't know,
right?
Whatever retired people do, go play golf or whatever. But he's sticking to his mission, which is to educate people.
I love that.
And you know, the years don't matter. What matters are the ideas and the communication of those ideas. And he is just as wise and just as brilliant and has even more experience with each passing year. I mean, he's a real treasure for this country.
He really is. And just chock full of integrity. You can just tell. And he just has this moxie about him, you know, that I just love. Man, I wish he was my rich dad.
If he flew helicopters in Vietnam and was dodging gunfire, I mean, if you can do that, you've got a leg up on being able to get things done in the world.
Yeah, that's right. And then if you can restrain yourself after coming back home and a professor's, you know, with grunge is throwing eggs at your head.
Oh, can you believe that? I mean,
can.
That history of America, we know that, you know, the hippies spitting on the Vietnam veterans, that was so disgusting. But look at where we are right now. Look at how society spits on conservatives or Trump supporters.
Well,
you know,
I just remember back to 2020 when the BLM, you know, business was going on. And my gosh, didn't recognize this country.
No,
Mike.
No. But as Mr. Kiyosaki says, what's coming next is going to make this far worse than anything we've seen so far.
Yeah.
I was looking at an article just the other day. The streets of New York City are now filled with homeless people and drug addicts and like prostitutes and like actual trash and filth everywhere.
Yeah,
New York City, it's looking like an apocalypse. Not to mention Seattle or Portland or San Francisco or Los Angeles or Chicago. This doesn't look like America. You know, in fact, this is true. The other day, a Ukrainian drone hit a high-rise apartment building in Moscow. And you probably saw my comment on that, but there was all this debris on the ground next to this building in Moscow. But I was struck by how clean the city looked. And I said, wow, even after a drone attack, Moscow looks cleaner than San Francisco. Like, in order to make Moscow look like San Francisco, you'd not only have to have a drone attack, but you'd have to spread feces all over the streets. You'd have to set fire to buildings and smash a bunch of cars. Then it would look as bad as San Francisco does every day.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. And you gotta throw in the urine, you know?
And don't forget about the urine. Yeah.
But my wife is from Russia, and I married her 20 years ago, and I met her 20 years ago in Moscow. And oh my God, even back then I was just, this is a beautiful, clean city.
I'm telling you, Moscow looks like civilization, whereas US cities look like a third world banana republic collapsed apocalypse.
They do.
I mean, I was just being honest.
You will
That's
own
what it looks
nothing
like.
And urinate in the street.
I was watching a video of Alexander Christoforou from the Duran. He went to Moscow a couple weeks ago. He's walking around filming it. He's taking the underpasses. He's in the subways. And I was like, my goodness, this looks like a shining modern city.
Yeah,
this is what America once looked like, but not anymore.
It is, and all of the cities in Russia, they got this beautiful facelift when they sponsored the Olympics. So there was just a ton of money spent into it. So it's really, really beautiful, amazing.
Yep.
St. Petersburg, one of the most beautiful cities in the world.
Wow. Well, I've never been to Russia, but I'm impressed by what I've seen on the video recently. Do you speak any Russian at all?
You know what? I don't have that kind of brain. It's like my wife and daughter have talked Russian to each other ever since, for 20 years.
No kidding.
And I know Pajom Gulyat, which is let's go for a walk, that I'll say to my dogs.
Okay. Well,
Pajom Gulyat.
Pajom Gulyat.
and I know Niet.
Yeah. Right. Well, this is maybe getting off topic, but I speak Mandarin Chinese, as you know, and I spoke pretty fluent Espanol when I was living in South America. And so I'm very linguistically attuned. And I love the beauty of just the Russian pronunciation. It's a very beautiful language.
It is.
Regardless of politics or geopolitics or whatever, or wars, but just linguistically, it's an amazing language. It's one that I wish I knew how to speak because it would be a lot of fun.
I love hearing the women speak it. The men always sound like they're arguing. It's always an octave higher than it should be.
Oh, that's funny because when Chinese women speak, Americans always think that the Chinese women are yelling at them because Chinese intonation sounds like yelling.
Okay, that's interesting.
It's like, 你是不是我的朋友? And it's like, whoa, did I do something wrong?
Who has more fun than us, Mike?
We definitely have fun.
Or no one.
And with Robert Kiyosaki as our guest today, not only did we have fun, but we had a real mentor to millions of people on the show.
Yes.
That and backing up, I think, the primary principles of what we espouse on this show.
Yeah.
And here it is. Let me summarize it. If you don't have possession of your assets soon, just consider them gone.
Right.
The banking system is not your friend. The government is not your friend. The pension system, it's bankrupt. Yellow Freight just declared bankruptcy because of the union, the disagreements with the unions. That was pensions and, medical care and everything. Yellow Freight just said, forget it, we're done. 100 years in business, we're done. 30,000 workers, done. That just happened.
Yeah.
Because of disagreements over pensions.
And people can watch this, Mike, but hear me. It is not the time to procrastinate.
No.
Right. So we can talk about it and warn people all day long, but you have to act.
Yeah.
And that's what Robert was saying too, is, I hear what you say, but I see what you do. It's pretty much
exactly. Hey,
his message.
Well said. Let me bring this in. Check it out. We have the DTV shirts now.
Oh.
So this is put together by a company called redpillprints.com,
Yes.
which has just become a friend of the show. And they have, they have the hats here too. Where's the hats? Here we go. The DTV hats, and they've got the coffee mugs. Oh, my dog is interested in the hat.
I just ordered 2 of everything that he sells.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Well, anyway, that's cool. So you'll be wearing the hat next time we do the show.
Maybe.
Okay.
And he accepts crypto.
That's the thing. He accepts crypto. Mm-hmm. So just as you and I are talking about, I'm getting out of the banking system.
Yeah.
Just as much as I possibly can. And I never plan to go back into it. Mm-hmm. So I'm sitting on some crypto, right? And I'm sitting on some gold and silver and bullets and food and whatever. And so if I ever need to spend the crypto, I just have to find vendors who will accept payment in crypto. And that's part of the show, is to advocate more and more vendors and merchants to accept cryptocurrency. Mm-hmm. And why wouldn't you as a vendor? Because there's no chargebacks. You get paid and that's it. Final.
Yeah. Well, you have been a real tip of the spear, Mike. I admire you for that. Is like, you got it. And you not only talk about it, you're doing it. Very soon.
Well,
I mean, people can tip in crypto now, but they're going to be able to buy your products, your food.
That's true.
Using crypto as well. And
maybe even by the time this episode runs.
Yes.
But you can go to healthrangerstore.com. Thanks for the plug, Todd. Healthrangerstore.com. We have freeze-dried, organic, lab-tested, storable foods and nutrition, hundreds of products. And soon, maybe again, by the time you see this, you'll be able to pay in various cryptocurrencies. We give preference to privacy coins, but I believe we will still accept Bitcoin also. We're not going to prohibit Bitcoin. It's just, we think that for your privacy, you should use a privacy coin so that there's no easily traceable transaction record. And what you're putting together, Todd, let me plug this for you, is decentralizeddirectory.com. You want to tell our audience about that?
Yeah, if you're hearing what we're saying and you would like a guide who can lead you to the right relationships that are going to have pre-negotiated benefits, then come to decentralizeddirectory.com and book an hour with me. And I will be your guide. And we're going to have more on this later. And the website is going to do such a good job, Mike, as far as explaining exactly what we're all about, how it works, and how you can benefit. But it's a way for those of you who might be like, you know what? I just don't have the time to do the deep dive in all of this. Can I have the cheat sheet?
Yeah.
Can I just please have the directory of kid tested, mother approved partners, services, things that can help me get my fiat out of the banking system and out there working for me? That's what it's all about. And I couldn't be more excited about it, Mike.
And can I add too, that because we have a special relationship now with Kraken.com, that if people take advantage of your consulting services, once you check them out, and if they have sufficient assets, then you can recommend them for VIP status on Kraken. And
with that, you will get automatic white gloves treatment from an onboarding standpoint. There's I mean, if you're watching this, you've likely heard, it's a fast track, and you've likely heard our interview with Alexander from Kraken. He was amazing. But it's going to be those type relationships. So please visit decentralizeddirectory.com and book a meeting with me, and we can start from there.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Decentralizeddirectory.com. And then also, of course, decentralized.tv is the website, for the show, as you all know. Mm-hmm. And one more thing, let me give credit to our satellite phone sponsor, which is the satellite phone store, SAT123.com. And if you go to SAT123.com, you'll find their selection of satellite phones that, of course, work from anywhere on the planet as long as you can view the sky. So you point this antenna, you orient it towards the sky. Doesn't have to be any particular point in the sky, just like don't aim it at the horizon. If that's confusing to people, then you're probably not qualified to operate a satellite phone. So just point it up and you'll get a connection and you can make calls and you can receive text. And then we have the bivy sticks here that can also do two-way satellite text messaging, even when the cell towers are down and the power grid is down and all of that. So you can use these from boats. You can use them from, deserts, when the power grid is out, whatever, and you can charge these with small solar devices as well, which are also offered at sat123.com. So they are our official sponsor of the show. And then we have other affiliate sponsors that have various solutions you might want to check out on our website, decentralize.tv, including a new affiliate that has a de-Googled phone that it runs the Graphene OS, which is my favorite operating system for mobile devices. It's a de-Googled Android version. And you can even use SIM cards that are data only that you can purchase and pay for using privacy crypto. So there's no link to your name, your credit card, your socials, nothing. You can get de-Googled phones and anonymous private data with the data SIM card. And so find out about that affiliate of ours at decentralize.tv. So,
and just word to the wise for those of you who are pro centralization and pro government, these satellite phones don't work well in hell. Just have a really bad signal.
Oh,
they have a really bad signal. Just doesn't. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So they don't operate in hell, and it's a sketchy signal in DC also, by the way, because it's really close to hell. Yeah. But yeah. Okay. Good point. Good point. Also, weather can affect them, but it has to be some pretty crazy weather to not get a satellite signal. Yeah. Like normal, light rain or clouds or whatever. That's no big deal at all. You can also get satellite bandwidth. I have one of those devices. You just open it up and aim the antenna at the sky, and you've got a hotspot with bandwidth. So
that's awesome.
That's pretty cool. You can log into Kraken on your satellite hotspot, even when the grid is down. Okay.
By the way, one last thing I want to let people know. I mean, go to richdad.com, but also his YouTube is the Rich Dad channel.
Oh, good point.
So search that, because I've just been binge listening to him once I knew that he was going to come on the show. And man, you just learn so much. Yeah. So the Rich Dad channel on YouTube.
I completely agree with you. And I feel very sorry for the typical oblivious American who has no idea about financial literacy. They are so screwed. They have no idea how bad it's going to be. They're going to have nothing, and they will be starving and homeless in the streets, desperate, because if you don't understand how money works, you are screwed. Mm-hmm. Because the system is engineered to screw you.
And Mike, what kind of saddens my heart, literally, is that so many of the people who get their programming from mainstream news, they never hear this message. They're never going to hear this message.
No. And
I mean, and that's like the majority of the people, Mike. So if you are listening to this, you are so far ahead of everyone else out there in your operating reality. You wouldn't even believe it.
Absolutely.
But I'm telling you, you are a small percentage of the population.
Well, even Kiyosaki said, he just mentioned this during the interview, that his own family, or at least some members of his family, don't understand what he's teaching. And I think we all share that. I know there are
we do.
members of my family that have no idea about any of this.
Zero.
Yeah.
Nor the interest.
Well, exactly. Right. And, it's pointless to say, hey, you should watch this and you should get educated. And, because they don't know me as the health ranger. They know me as, the little kid, Mike, that was climbing trees and playing in the sandbox that they remember, So, you can never unremember family members for if you grew up with them. Right.
Isn't that funny how when you go back to a family reunion, it's like everyone just kind of settles into their roles, and ultimately it leads to some kind of bickering. That's just my
Yeah, well, if I were to ever go to a family reunion, it'd be like, I walk in, I show up like, hey, all you spike protein people, get the hell out of here. I'm not going to be exposed to you. And I brought some healthy food. Clear the buffet. I brought some healthy stuff, smoothies. Bring it in. Health Rangers here, bitches. Come on.
but they're so fearful in the back of the corner of the room because your dog has them pinned to the corner.
No, but of course I'm not invited to such reunion events because they know I would take it over with Vitamixes and chlorella and blueberry smoothies and stuff. So they're like, no, we just want our chicken nuggets, man, and our vaccines.
You're bringing in your SAT 123 phones and bivy sticks,
and guns. Staring like, what do you have a gun on your hip?
Wearing your DTV hat.
I'm like, people, this is what you're looking at a free man. By the way, you're looking at a free man. This is what freedom looks like. You should become familiar with it in case you ever want to experience it yourself. I'd be trying to pay for the food in crypto, We should do this. Like we should do like a parody of family reunions of awake versus woke.
Yes. Oh, perfect. Well, who's your oh gosh, mental block. Your buddy, your comedian buddy who came in to the store.
Oh, JP Sears?
Yeah. That'd be something you and JP should do. That would be so funny.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, we might have JP back. I got an idea for JP. We'll see how that goes.
Oh,
I got to pitch it to him, but we'll see if that works. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up before we get too carried away. You and I tend to do that, but it's fun. People enjoy it.
It is, and for us, we get a couple of interviews in on Friday, and so it's the latter part of the last interview, and it's the weekend, so we deserve to be in good cheer.
Totally.
But I'm going to go out on a limb here. Okay, I'm going to end this by just giving Robert Kiyosaki 2 thumbs up.
Definitely.
What say you?
Definitely 2 thumbs up for Kiyosaki. 2 thumbs up, everything up for Kiyosaki. Yeah, he gets the
what
10
an amazing
out of 10.
man. What an amazing man.
Yep.
So I don't even know how you got him on the show, but I want to thank you. Or if somebody networked him in, thank you. But I think our audience is going to really really enjoy the interview. Well,
Todd, you know my Rolodex is pretty extensive, right?
I know it is.
I mean, there's a lot of people that I talk to that I will never invite to the show. And this is true. I have A-list Hollywood people who you would immediately recognize their names. That call me and as a private health consultant. Yeah. And
I believe it.
And I just help them, and because they know I'm not going to spill the beans on who they are or what we're talking about. And it's just over the years, when you become known for something like, in my case, reversing diabetes, reversing cancer, using nutrition. I mean, you start to attract people who have either, money or power or influence, kind of the movers and shakers of society. And the number one thing they value is people respecting their privacy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's the number one thing, because everywhere they go, like some of the people I talk to, they're so famous they can't go out and buy groceries because they'd be hounded.
Yeah.
And that's a kind of torture to go through life like that.
Yeah.
And so to respect someone's privacy, and also it helps that I don't give a crap about how famous somebody is. I really could care less.
Yeah.
I have no respect for famous people who are just famous for being famous. Who gives a crap? It's useless. I respect people who have, talent and skills and contribute to society. So, and those are the people that I tend to know and work with, and that I can get on the phone. So,
well, thank you for getting Robert Kiyosaki on.
Well,
that was awesome.
This was the first time I've ever spoken with Mr. Kiyosaki, but he's welcome back anytime. He's really amazing.
Anytime.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Honored to know him.
And I have a sneaky suspicion. I mean, it's just how it works, Mike, right? Momentum breeds momentum. There'll be some folks who see that interview and will probably be reaching out to, us to say, hey, I'd like to come on the show. And maybe it'd be people that we never thought necessarily that they'd be interested in.
I do know we've got the invitation out now because we interviewed the campaign director for Vivek Ramaswamy.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, we interviewed Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and we interviewed Liz Harrington, Trump's spokeswoman.
Yep.
So there may be a day coming up when we might get Trump to join us, possibly, or maybe RFK again, or maybe Ramaswamy to join us, just on the political spectrum.
That would be great because, man, they could run their campaigns on decentralization and get a lot of attention.
Oh, yeah. Well, and we interviewed Jonathan Emord running for the Senate of Virginia, and he's accepting crypto. And we're going to have him back on, by the way. That's already a done deal. And he's a great American, like a founding father type of mentality.
Really?
And, oh, yeah. He's
great person.
Like if you were to just put him, back into 1776, he would fit right in.
If America got a 1776 mulligan, Mike, he would be there.
What is that?
A mulligan. Oh, yeah.
Like a do-over?
It's a golf term.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a do-over. You get one mulligan every 9 holes.
No, I understand. Well, I just didn't understand the metaphor, but I get it. I'm sorry, it's my bad. But yeah, no, he would be like a signer of the Bill of Rights in what was that, 1791, I believe, or whenever the Bill of Rights came later. Yeah. But Jonathan Emord is the kind of guy, like, I wouldn't be surprised to see his name, like if there were a time machine or something.
Yeah.
To see like his name, Emord signed this, and then he got pushed into the future, and now here he is in our time running for the Senate.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised,
I wouldn't either. That was a great interview. If anybody is watching this and hasn't seen that, go back to, it was one of our first ones.
Yeah, it was episode 2.
Episode 2, right.
Yep.
Great interview.
Great interview. We've had a lot of great interviews and many more to come. So let's go ahead and wrap this up for today. And did I leave anything out? Did we cover all the bases?
I think we're good.
I think so too.
Good.
Yeah, I think so. All right. Well, thank you, Todd. It's always fun to do this with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure. This is a blast.
Absolutely. And thanks for helping out all our viewers who need that extra helping hand with your consulting. And again, they can reach you at decentralizedirectory.com if they want to check that out. And
beautiful.
I'll just say thank you to the audience. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing and for just having interest in this topic, because we want to live in a world of a lot of free people who have protected their wealth and their health. We don't want to live in a world where everybody's bankrupt and desperate and panicked and diseased. But that's what the globalists have planned for us. So we got to resist that plan, and this is how we do it right here on this show.
This is how we do it, and it would be helpful if you're watching this. I mean, send a link to this show or other shows or to our URL, but get the word out. If you're in certain freedom groups, or just, drop a link in there and just recommend people come watch, because the more the merrier. If we can get this circular alternative economy going, we're going to win.
Yeah.
And how does that happen? One person at a time.
That's right. You got it. Well said. All right. Thank you, Todd. Have a great rest of your evening, and thank all of you for watching today. Again, it's been a great show, decentralize.tv, and watch for more episodes on the website. I'm Mike Adams, the founder of Brighteon.com. Thank you for watching today. Take care, everybody.
Cheers.
All right.